What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Here We Almost Go Felipe Anderson to Juve. It's breaking news. It's basically done. It's not officially done or whatever, or 100% confirmed. It's just ironing out the final details, and Felipe Anderson will be a Juventus player. A lot to unpack on that regard. So that's what we're going to do in this video, because I know a lot of people already panicking, and I fully understand that. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Before we get into it, hit the like button now. Let's push 100 likes for this one. Subscribe, close to 5K, and let's jump straight into it. Okay, so the news comes from multiple sources, but I will go with Fabrizio Romano on this one. He basically said that it's extremely close. The agreement is basically in place. It's just finalizing the latest details. Maybe some, I don't know, like contract clauses. I don't know, like the final details. There's no real reports on the length of the deal. There are no real reports on the wages. If we go on these, or if you want wages and years and all those things, we need to go back a couple of months or weeks or so ago, and it was suggested to be around 3 million euros for 3 seasons, which is, for me, a very long-term deal, in my opinion. Now, on Felipe Anderson, on the player himself, I've always liked Felipe Anderson, but there comes a point where I'm like, yeah, no, like this is not it, basically. And that's basically this point. However, like I said so many times, this means a change is coming. And change in terms of, we're going to switch formation. That's what we're going to do. That could be one of the things. And that's why we are trying to bring in multiple wingers. I know a lot of people say he can play attacking midfielder, which he can, but I don't think we're bringing him in for that reason. Like, that cannot be the reason you bring in Felipe Anderson, going potentially in the Champions League, World Cup, play multiple games. You cannot really do that. But I've always said that this financially for the club is a big hit in my opinion, because you get him on a free, and you're gonna get a big plus valenza on Sule, because I think Sule is gone and Junior is gone as well, or one of the two, but I think both of them are gone, which is gonna be clear, massive plus valenza for the club, straight on the books, quote unquote, and this one not. That's basically it. Now, what it also means, in my opinion, is, besides the rumors of Allegri is done and it's going to be Motta, most likely, I think we can all say 90% certainty that's going to be the case for next summer. It also hints towards, in my opinion, the formation is going to change. We're going to play with wingers and we need backups. Now, if you tell me, like, if this deal will look much better, or how do I need to say it? A lot of people will allow this deal to happen much better if Chiesa stays, Vlahovic stays, Sule stays, and you bring in Felipe Anderson. You keep Yildiz. Even if Junior leaves, Kostic is out of the door, then I think a lot of people will be like, okay, we play multiple games like season. It's not just the Serie A. You play Serie A, you play, hopefully, Champions League or even Europa League, but you play in Europe. You play the Club World Cup, you play the Coppa Italia, and maybe the Supercoppa as well, depending if you win it. So a lot of games. If you then have Chiesa, Vlahovic, Felipe Anderson, and you keep Sule, you're like, okay, and you have Yildiz, you're like, okay, you're going to change the team around. That means, yeah, Kostic is gone, potentially Junior is gone, Milik probably is gone, and maybe Keane. Or Milik stays for another year to be Vlahovic's backup, but Keane is gone. I think a lot of people will be like, okay, I can accept that, because we need to bolster that midfield and that back line big time, because we all expect Bremer to leave. And you're like, okay, Felipe Anderson, I get it, bridge gap, because are we going to really spend big money to bring in, quote unquote, a backup winger, because Felipe Anderson can play on the right and he can play on the left. In that scenario, I think a lot of people will be like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because where are you going to find another backup midfielder or like winger, unless, and it's a free. And let's say you want to bring in a backup right winger or left winger or whatever, and you need to spend 20 million. You're like, yeah, you take a Felipe Anderson and you spend that 20 million on the midfield or the backline which needs massive fixing. So that could be an idea. However, I don't have that feeling. I think Kostic is gone. I think Junior is gone. I think Sule is gone. Now, all three of them is maybe too much, but all three of them, in my opinion, can easily be gone, can easily be sold. I don't see them all staying, or like I don't see Sule staying, I don't see Junior staying, and Felipe Anders coming in. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. I refuse to believe that at this moment in time. It all depends on a lot of things, but what we do know for sure is that Felipe Anderson is most likely gonna sign for Juve. No real confirmation on the deal, on the length. Now, as a player, like his output is okay. He's double digit GA basically every single season. That's decent. He's never that prolific. Oh, he scored 10 goals and he got 16 assists or like 15 assists. Like, he's not that type of player. He contributes. He's a hard worker. I think technically he's a good player. But yeah, he's 31, I think, and that's not really what you want for the club. Now, I cannot be a hypocrite. I've always said that, yeah, it's all good having these youngsters, but we need experience in this team. He will be that experience. Is he the experience I was thinking about? No, but maybe I was pushing it, I was thinking, and different position, I'm like, you bring in Modric, and you pair him with Fagioli for 2 seasons, and Fagioli can learn from Modric as well. I know it's not going to happen. I know Modric is not going to sign for Juve. I know that, but I was going to that extent, and maybe I'm wrong for thinking in that, towards that extent, but everybody was linking us with Toni Kroos, and he's staying. Then Modric is the quote-unquote next guy, basically, that comes to mind. But that was the experience. I was like, okay, wow, that's a big-time player, free agent, still, like, will dominate probably, not probably, he will dominate Serie A, and even in Europe, he will do perfectly fine. So, and I know we cannot play, but you have Fagioli, and you're like, okay, you can learn from him. Will players learn from Felipe Anderson? Experience-wise, yes. I don't think he's a crap player, but I think the issue also is people see the way Yildiz play, Chiesa and Sule, and they look at Anderson. Anderson is not that type of player. He's not going to go running past, skipping past players. And he's not. Like, he will be standstill more, in my opinion, football, and will dictate from there. And I think he's a good player. As a backup or rotation player, if we play many games, it could be a good deal if the length of the deal, the financial package of the deal, and also depending on how the squad will be built in the summer. It all depends on these things. Otherwise, it could be complete type of deal, But if the club is like, okay, we need to sell, we need to generate money, but we want to spend that on the midfield and the back line, so we need to do this, then yeah, we know the situation of the club. We know what it is. We're going to need to sell players. We need to improve the team, the starting 11, in my opinion, first, then the squad. We're going to sell players. Bremer might be out of the door, and who knows? Maybe Kiesa's out of the door. Maybe if a big offer for Vlahovic comes in, the club is like, I'm sorry, Vlahovic, you're gone. Your wage is insane, and we're going to splash on Zirkzee, and we're not really going to play with a number 9, and we're going to chop and change, Who knows what's going to happen? Miretti could be potentially completely sold to Bologna because they want Calafiori or they want Ferguson. I don't know. Like, all these things can happen. It's going to be a crazy summer. There are going to be things where you're like, oh boy. There are going to be things you're like, wow, hyped. And then the next day you're like, but they're selling him? It's going to be that type of summer. But this is the first deal we're potentially or most likely are going to make. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. Keep in mind all the scenarios I talk about. It could be going into different directions. He can be an actually squad player who can play on the right, who can play on the left. Let's say Sule stays, Yildiz, Chiesa, Vlahovic. It can be that type of signing, or it can be completely something else, and he's going to be, quote-unquote, the main guy. Like, that is probably worst-case scenario, because if you play so many games next season, he cannot be the main guy at that age. Like, it's a no-go. So, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon. Ciao.